Hi guys! So today we're going to be doing my May wrap-up. In May, I read, according to Goodreads, I read 20 books. Some of those, though, are novellas, some are short stories, and I read one more short story that was not on Goodreads, so that's not included. So technically 21, but also several of those were not actually full-length novels. So since I have so many books to talk about, without further ado, let's just get started. So first book that I finished in May is Rose and Bloom, which is the sequel to Eight Cousins by Louisa May Alcott. I read this, started it in April for Alcott April, did not finish it till the beginning of May. And I gave it 4 stars. It was pretty good. I didn't like it as much as Eight Cousins. I think I just really related to Rose in Eight Cousins, and so I didn't relate to her quite as much, like her arc that she'd had in between. There were just some other things that happened that I wasn't a big fan of. But it was still fairly enjoyable. Let's see. Next, I read The Woman. Let's see, I have this one. The Woman at the Well by Patty. I'm not going to try to pronounce the rest of her name. You can figure that out yourself. Birthday present from my husband. It was okay. I gave it 3 stars. It did what a lot of biblical fiction does, that I'm going to have to make a whole rant video about this someday. But a lot of biblical fiction about, like, women of ill repute, like The Woman at the Well or Rahab. This happens a lot with Rahab. It kind of tried to excuse everything that she did. Like, it definitely portrayed her as wanting, like, living with another man that wasn't her husband as wrong. But, like, it was just sort of giving her excuses for the rest of it. And it just, I don't know. I don't like that. So, it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. Alright, the next book that I finished is over here. These are not in any particular order beside me. The next book I finished was also a birthday gift from my husband, The Princess by Lori Wick. This is about a fictional European, I assume it's European country, where the prince is required to marry by a certain birthday. I don't remember how old he's supposed to be. But he had been married, his wife died, and now he's getting remarried, and basically it's an arranged marriage. And it's about Nikolai and Shelby are their names, and they're getting to know each other. I love this cover, by the way. This is a gorgeous book. I love this, like, edition. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. The relationship was great. The love story was really sweet. With it being a marriage of convenience, I hadn't really noticed this before till Lindsay at BSTG pointed this out, and now I see it in every marriage of convenience book that I read, so thanks, Lindsay. That was not fully sarcasm. Sarcasm maybe, but not fully. Like, I appreciate you pointing this out. In that, like, there were several conversations about marital intimacy that they were handled tastefully, but also I don't think they really needed to be there. If that dichotomy makes any sense. Alright, I gave that one 4 stars. So as to not linger on that too long, let's just keep moving. The next 2 books that I read, wonder why I read them. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street and 10 Apples Up on Top. Yes, these were more reads to my son. I gave them 5 stars. They're cute. I give pretty much every book, like Dr. Seuss book that I read to my son, 5 stars, because Dr. Seuss books are really fun. Alright, next I got a 3-month free Kindle Unlimited trial, and I started reading on KU. So I read Ariadne and the Legend of the Fire Rose by Christy A. Cole, who is a fellow booktuber, and I really loved this. I gave it 5 stars. I thought Ariadne was great, and just the plot was wonderful. I liked the kind of allegory she weaved in there at the end, or at least the Christian themes that were there. Yeah, this was really fun, and I can't wait to read everything else Christy writes. This was great. Alright, I'm going to skip over because I read a full series, so I'm going to actually just talk about those at the end, because I read this entire series, so I read them up until the end of the month. So I'm just going to talk about that at the end. So other than that series, the next book that I finished was Jo's Boys by Louisa May Alcott. This is the last book in the Little Women series, and I gave it 4 stars. I had given the rest of the Little Women series 5 stars because I love it. It's so sweet. And this one was pretty good, but there were some things... Here, let me pull up my review just so I can double check. Okay. So, I'm going to have to give spoilers, I think, to talk about this, because, yeah, there are the things that I had issues with. Now, it was very precious and sweet, like Little Women and Good Wives and the other one, Little Men. And the characters were all great. It was really fun. So I definitely recommend this if you do enjoy the Little Women series. But if you haven't read this and you do want to read it, fast forward till I'm not holding up the book. So, let's see. My main issues with this book are, okay, Dan went to prison for a year for self-defense. What? Like, excuse you? The guy, see, yeah, the guy was trying to shoot him. I get that the guy tried to cheat the other guy, which means that I'm pretty sure the other guy started the fight too. Like, I'm very upset about this. And then, yeah. And then after he gets out of prison and goes home, I put in my review, he's basically told he's not worthy of marrying Bess, and the narrative agrees because he dies alone. Ugh. The way she handled Dan's character, I was not a fan of that. Okay, also, why was Meg so mad about the idea of Daisy marrying Nat? She literally married a poor tutor because she loved him. Like, that's literally her character. Why would she, why? And then, also, just, this is more of a personal thing. I think, well, more my personal, like, morals. That sounds weird. But Joe and Lori were too close in this book, in my opinion. If they had never had romantic interest in each other, it might have been different. But I cannot imagine, like, I'm trying to get myself into this position. And, like, I am trying to imagine if, say, my husband had an ex-girlfriend who wound up, or someone who had been romantically interested in him, who wound up marrying his brother, and then the two of them were chit-chatting a lot. Like, that's what happened in this book. And I would not be okay with that. Like, even if they were best friends in childhood, like, I feel like I would not be okay with that. So, I don't really know how Amy and Professor Bear are okay with it. But, yeah, I didn't like that aspect. I did not like that aspect of this book. Other than that, though, like, it wasn't anything flirty or anything. Like, they weren't even flirting. They were just hanging out like they did in Little Women. But because they're now married to other people, that is uncomfortable for me. So, yeah, anyway. That said, I did enjoy Joe's Boys. Spoilers are over, so you're good if you want to do it. I did enjoy it. I recommend reading it if you've read the rest of the Little Women series. It's just, I had a few issues with that book, and so it only got 4 stars. Alright, the next non-series book that I finished, and I read this over several days, was The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery. I buddy read this with Anne over at In Search of Wonder and Courtney at Courtney Reads. And I had my first 2 buddy reads this month, so this was my first one. And this was a really good book. It's by Ellen Montgomery. And I gave it 4 stars. It's about a girl who, she has a very controlling family, like not just her mom, but like everyone in her family is awful. And then she gets some news, and she decides that she is going to, for once, do what she wants. And it's just her journey of self-discovery and other things like that. And it very sweet romance, and just, yeah, everything about it was really great. But not quite as good as Anne of Green Gables, because Anne of Green Gables is chef's kiss. It's great. Alright, the next book that I finished was If I Run by Terry Blackstock. This is Christian suspense. There's not really romance. I'm assuming there will be eventually. I'm hoping there will be eventually. But, I did enjoy this. I gave it 4 stars also. It was, let's see, what did I say about it in the review? Let's see. Oh yeah, so I loved Casey, Casey Cox discovers her, one of her good friends dead, and based on her past experience with the police, she doesn't think they'll believe her if she says she didn't do it. So she runs. And then the family of the friend hires this investigator to find her, because she's now the main suspect, because her DNA is now all over the crime scene. And this is sort of her story in running, where she goes to hide and all that stuff. And she's trying to find out who did kill him and prove that. And meanwhile, the guy is trying to find her, but he's starting to think that maybe there's more to this story than he knows. And I really liked Casey as a character. I liked her determination to do what's right. And I wish she would have been, like, I don't know, I feel like I don't know what I'm trying to say. I feel like she is, I wish she would have had more faith, but I understand why she doesn't based on, like, everything that happens in the story. But anyway, I'm assuming that will also change throughout the story. Or throughout the series. So, anyways, this was really good. Looking forward to book 2. Alright, and then I read Hope Between the Pages by Pepper Basham. This was a buddy read with Old American Spirit. And I wound up giving it 5 stars. I'm still kind of struggling with a 4 and a 5. This was, it's a dual timeline, and Clara Blackwell is, her family has owned a bookshop for the past 100 years, but they don't know where the deed is. And now that people know that they don't know where the deed is, someone is trying to reclaim the building, and they're trying to keep the building, obviously. And so she starts looking into how they got the building, her great-grandmother who did get it, and great-grandmother? Yes, great-grandmother. And just, you see her great-grandparents' relationship, and then while in flashbacks while she is trying to find the deed and figure out what happened in their timeline. And I really loved the precious relationship between Sadie and Oliver, the great-grandparents. Oh, it was so sweet. I loved them so much. And then Claire's storyline was also intriguing too, but I was loving the historical timeline a lot. It's really fun buddy reading this with the Old American Spirit. We went back and forth with all of our theories and everything, and just our real-time reactions. There were quite a few fun literary references in this book too, so I'd really do encourage you to pick this one up. It was really great. There was at least one scene that, there were a few, depending on how depending on how you feel about like kissing scenes, some of the scenes may have gone a little far for you. They were actually okay for me. That's why I was vacillating between a 4.5 and a 5. For story enjoyment, it was 100% a 5. But some of the kissy was, like, it did get a little kissy sometimes, but it was, I don't think anything went too far, so yes, I enjoyed that. Alright, and then the series that I binged this month. On Kindle Unlimited, I read The Alien Chronicles. Yes, all 6, plus the 2 novellas, plus the 3 short stories. I loved the series so much. This is a Christian non-magical fantasy. Lots of other booktubers have read it. I know, let's see, who all has read it? Celestria, Sarah at Sarah's Tangled Tales, Reese at The Writing Songbird. I know for them, those 3, it's like one of their favorite series. I think it's one of Sarah's. I know it's one of Celestria's favorite series and one of Reese's favorite series, because they never stop talking about it. Pretty sure Sarah really loves it too. So, let's see, Carmen, I think, recently read it. Carmen? I'm second guessing everybody's names. Yes, Carmen. I know Amanda's reading this right now. Crystal's Purple Library, I think, has read it. Like, everybody has read this series. Almost. And it was so good, you guys. I gave every book and the short stories and the novellas all 5 stars. Think the Book of Daniel, basically, except in a fantasy world, and also, like, there's other races and stuff, like elves, kind of other races. It was so much fun. The allegory was great. The characters were great. Jace needs a hug, especially at the beginning. Yeah. So the books in this series are Resistance, The King's Scrolls, Samara's Peril, Exiles, Bitter Winter, Dyken's Heir are the full-length novels. And then there's also Half-Blood, which is a prequel, but please don't read that until after. I suggest reading it after the series, because honestly, it was so sad. You kind of need to know the ending of the whole series to make yourself not be as sad. And then Lacey, which takes place in between 5 and 6. And then Tyra, which is after Half-Blood, before Resistance, chronologically. And The Dream, which takes place after Dyken's Heir. And then Twins, which also takes place after The Dream. But yeah, really love the series. Gave everything 5 stars. Yeah. Not a lot to say about it, just I really love this. So I had a really great reading month. Also, but there are some themes in that series that are a little heavier, so definitely don't recommend them for really young readers, but yeah, it was so much fun. So, that was my reading month. What was your favorite book you read in May? Mine was definitely the entire Ilion Chronicles. If I have to pick one, Samara's Peril or Dyken's Heir, I'm not sure which one I liked better. Maybe Dyken's Heir. No, Samara's Peril. I can't decide. So tell me what your favorite book was that you read in May, and I will see y'all next time. Bye. When I recorded my wrap-up, I forgot to wrap up the Southern Charm Readathon, so just real quick, let me go over the books that I read for each prompt. For Bless Your Heart, an emotional or heartwarming book, I read The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery. For Sweet Tea, a book with something sweet on the cover or a sweet story, I read The Princess by Lori Wick. For Hot as Blue Blazes, a book with a hot setting, I read The Woman at the Well. For Heavens to Betsy, a mystery or thriller, I read If I Run. For the free space, I just put Rose and Bloom here. All the Fixins, a book in multiple genres. I put Hope Between the Pages because it's historical, romance, contemporary, and mystery as well. Chicken and Dumplings, a book you think will be a comfort read. I put Ariadne and the Fire Rose because I adore fantasy, so I figured that would be a good one. And then Hey Y'all, a book with more than one POV. Put Joe's Boys by Louisa May Alcott because you can see the point of view of like a whole bunch of characters. And then finally, for Howdy Partner, a book featuring friendship or family, I put Dyke and Zare, but really you can just imagine the entire Ilion Chronicles series there. So thank you so much for Amanda and her co-host for putting this on. Co-hosts Amanda's co-hosts this time were Taylor from Tales and Treats with Tay, Oshina Gotta Read 'Em All, Lindsay Lou Lemus, My Cozy Reading Life, For the Love of Christian Fiction, and Read for the Sky. So thank you all so much for putting this on. Love this readathon. It was so much fun, and I'm looking forward to participating next year. Also for Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, I read Ariadne and the Fire Rose, which is by a new-to-me author.